I want this to happen. Like I'm a driver, and then Plan City, no man. You track in.
What?
What?
No,
Yeah,
you
we
track
track in by Ibi.
So no, ndiyahamba so endlini. Ndiyayibona ndlule Blue Water Bay. Like I can't register, but dude.
Oh yeah, you drive.
Like use track in nyani
Dude,
mos.
I did say track in.
Because bekudala ethe usendleleni.
Bekudala, and then I find out Chikapa, ndangena at Dill Part. No can say about that, I'm like, don't go to Red House, don't go to Red House, don't go to Red House, don't go to Red House.
Why Red House?
No, I developed. Don't go to Red House, don't go to Red House, don't go to Red House. And then Chigan, there's the same night.
But it has always been a disaster. Lando xa usiya evenkileni uthunywe into oqomba le into unayo i-potential yoyilibala. And then kuthiwe yenze i-station uyicula kokoko xa ufika pha ufika ubize enye.
Ngicela ngathi ndiyongwala kanti wenthunywa olethe olethana ngithuma ikazi. Kodwa ndize na Mexican silver. Abendlela yami ngicula Mexican silver, kandibuye ndifike ne-silver grey.
Silver sekhona,
Silver khona.
Yeah, going gorilla on this thing.
Yeah, amaxesha ko Mexican silver.
Yeah, mfethu amakasha Mexican silver. Basekhona Mexican silver?
I should hope not.
Basekhona?
Are you for real?
You would know.
I wouldn't.
Then he says, I would
Oh, you would know?
No, I would know.
You are the one who's saying Basekhona.
Yeah,
so you would know.
No, because I've done 9 years in retail.
Okay.
Yes.
So you would know then.
One tell no you would know.
Kalos nizi shota bana.
Zeziphi ezinye?
Siyazi.
Bring it on.
Yo, welcome to it. This is the Ephondweni Podcast. Shout out to you and yours. Thank you for joining us. This is a special broadcast. For the first time, we have a guest. I don't think he's a guest, really. Is he a guest, Lily?
I don't want to regard him as a guest.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't
I
feel
don't
like
want
it.
to.
Ne?
Yeah.
The name is Yakim, Master Builder, uMfowethu Valiwe, and I'm with the dark chocolate.
The gatekeeper, poetic soul.
Gatekeeper number
Yeah,
one.
I think I'm gonna wear that title for a while. I enjoy it.
Dimofulama, gate.
Himofulama, gate, iminyango nama gate,
Yeah.
himofulama.
That should be your soundtrack.
Yeah.
Mythology, umamele. Yeah, man. So today we have a sit down. This is just a conversation to reflect, on friendship, on on the movement and everything, that's pertaineth life. It's someone that I regard highly in terms of.
That's what? That's pertaineth. Yes.
What's this thing now?
That's pertaineth.
To life.
All right.
In general.
Okay.
To life in general. A friend of mine, a big friend of mine. I love how his mind works and I love his work ethic. He's dynamic things that will surely uncover, khona nje imini ndimfonela ba yela why miss radio, he's done a lot of those things. And today we have an honor to sit with
So I brought drinks, guys.
Yeah?
Yes.
Brought drinks.
Thank you.
And bendofuna the red plastic cups, and that's for man. So I got enamel cups. Imak is the enamel.
Sure.
So yes, we're gonna drink.
I think it says
I couldn't find it Jinga Roja. I wanted to find it Jinga Roja, so I found the Gameji, which is fine.
Yeah.
Shout out to Roger.
Still your teammate, guys. So yeah, we drink. Thank you for having me, Buffett. Thank you.
Oh, good. uMfowethu. Ubhuti waseGageni. Ubhuti waseGageni. Ivapha kum eGageni.
I think it was the first time we saw him.
I was about to say.
As Bettisful.
Eh,
Gageni. Amanene enezabhenda zakhe zekarati.
angena umphulaphula. Hey,
Luckeez.
Luckeez. Ndiyakuthanda
I'm like King Kong,
eGageni. EGageni.
I was dope radio. I remember watching him and thinking, so ndikwazi le into.
And look where you are now. Look where you are
Awushoba
now.
sasaza ngayo lo umuntu
I
ulapha.
almost want to take us back to the first My first memory
Yes.
of meeting Luckeez, if I'm not lying, but Puff, I wouldn't be lying because it's my first memory. It could be the second, but it's my first. You had Root Boy Paul in your studios
Oh yeah.
as an advertiser, Lando ye poetry, the
Yeah.
crossbow.
Mm.
And I heard it on radio. And I said to my brother, Root Boy Paul, Masambe, go. And my brother, Hiro Yamo. So we chased and we went to studio and we met up with Root Boy Paul, met up with you. And I think from that point on, I don't remember a moment where I could call on you and I wouldn't be received.
Dude.
It's a connection that goes back to me then going to fetch Kulekani.
Yeah. But it's a studio and
Yeah, record kaloko. We had gotten a connect through Utatu Zola.
Kusekho uTado Nibek Mako.
Yes,
Station manager.
yes,
Yeah, that's my hero. That one.
So Nyansile.
that's my hero.
May his soul rest in peace.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, he was good friends with my father.
Sure.
And yeah, but bethana most ndibiza kwezinto zabo. One mhlawumbe ndijive. Yayisithina la ngoma sasijive. Wanga andiyazi ayisike ingoma kodwa yoyashela emhlophe. Wemuntuza. Sasona kujive yena. Mama Ngamas was always confident. Babazawuphaka abantwana bakaMojo benze umuntuza bajive. And eventually I got into poetry and then one buza, what do you need? And I said, I don't know, it would be nice for my friends and I to record. Snengoma sasiyenze ecuwa.
Yes.
And our relationship just even with the station grew from that point on. But I think it was really, really brought to life by meeting a person like you, a person like Kuslaiso, and a person like the late Lulu Armand.
Yes. Very key.
Yes. I want to know, what's your first memory of the PE art scene? You are arriving in Port Elizabeth, you're basing yourself here. What was your figure by?
My first memory was one I was mugged by cops.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
What? In the art
Yeah.
scene?
I was so the biggest pan, and then Diamandio tell us something. There's a spa just behind the span. So they walk up and the
5
petty
ways.
suitcases, no CV, you don't see deals, I'm just walking at threads. And before I knew it, there was like 6 cars and guns are out. I'm like, dude, guys, what's going on? And then I put the bags down. Yeah, and I put the bags down. And then such a bags is okay, no, it's fine. You can go. I'm like, guys, it doesn't work like that. What's going on? Then went to work. I think my first memory with the P art scene was getting access to music. That was done through Ghetto Youth Uprising. And Abantu, I think. There was a mixtape by Pumile.
Yes.
There was a mixtape by Pumile before, and I had access to that through Simborn. And then I met Kim. We exchanged books. Wayephethe enye incwadi Got the Black Man and Truth. Ngamhlutha la ncwadi. And then from there, and then nayihluthist. And then there's a elokishini ke ngoku through Kim. Remember nandihlale down.
Yeah.
So there's a elokishini ke ngoku. So and then I got access to the sessions as many as Sunset. But now my access to the art scene would be through the show that I was doing. Yeah. Well, so artists would come through to the studio. A station, and just because my show ain't a weekend, then see a station at Pakate Begin, the library, and so I would meet people when I figure Pakate Begin. And I got used to that idea, but some artists will come even at Pakate Begin, so I'll just go to work Pakate Begin. And then I started going to the sessions. And then I remember the one memory I won't forget when I met Uleza. It was when you came to the show and you did the poem Emptying.
Yeah.
Remember that poem?
Uh-huh.
You did that poem. emptying. And I think those are the memories as and is Kumbulayo in my early days, PE 2006.
Yeah.
When I figured 2005 December. So 2006. And then I became, even today, they even forget that I'm was a moon.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. I have a healthy relationship like in his home now. And it looks like I have moved permanently to P. So yeah, man, that those are my earliest memories. And then Namachita will come to the studio. It was weird for me because okay, so who are these guys?
At some point, I thought you became Hebrew.
At some point, people even thought I was Rasta. Because before that, I was so into reading. Look, remember, I'm one person who is so into spirituality.
Yeah.
And reading religious literature. So before then, Concessor King, I was so into black theology and literature on that. Then I was, okay, sharp, I get it, just black, sharp. And then I got access to Rastafarian literature, started reading that a lot.
I think I attached to you a lot because of your love for reggae music, if you remember.
Yeah.
And I would beg you, please give me a USB with reggae music. And I even had a jersey.
And also his dress code. Ne?
His dress code. One of his gifts that I had was a black jersey of yours that I took in Ghana. Actually, it doesn't have a gift.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and I said, this one is mine.
So after that, if you have one,
and then what happens?
Yeah, it's turning down. Single namhlanje. You will
so
one day.
After that, when I met Amaheper, I was like, okay, so who are these guys? And then so I started then reading their literature. And trust me, if I'm into your content or your literature, I will immerse myself into your environment and even be a part of the things in his desire.
Because I really
he reads this book in a day or two. God, the Black Man and Truth, and he brings the book back, and he wants more literature. I'm like, no.
Go back
and read it.
So I had to read it twice. I had to go back and read it twice.
But the value system of Amaheper must have stuck with you to this point.
Yes. Look, one of the things I appreciate is the Africanism part of the psychology.
Yeah.
And the understanding that the Old Testament essentially is the original freedom charter for the black man. And then if you understand that, then you would understand why kuzabakwama wenziwayo phayana. And then nathi siyawenza, because as Africans we get confused obviously with ukufika kwabelungu and the Christianization of abantu abamnyama. So then there will be contrasting in views ukuthi into ethile no bafana siyayenza because what. So I really appreciate that a value system that says first and foremost, you are an African, you are black, you have to relate to God in a black science. You have to dial the right number to connect spiritually, and one of the things I still carry myself today is the idea of definitions, because as abantu we just use words, forgetting that actually words cast a spell. That's why it's called spelling. You cast spells with words. So
I have never thought of it like that.
So whether you know it or you don't,
Susan's a clever way now.
What?
Oh, yeah, the spell, the spelling, but
No, but then I know this. This is part to define. I'll go deep. I'll give you a whole class on this thing.
Yeah, they have a code.
That your name is your PIN number. Because if it's young, sabela wena. But if I put in the right PIN number, if I say poetic soul, if I say it's gonna be that, you're gonna.
They have a code.
They
have a code to the power to define in the hands of the enemy is a weapon of mass destruction.
What's the title of this book?
It's called God, the Black Man and Truth.
God, the Black Man and Truth.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the order.
So you should have it. So that's one of the value systems that I really liked. That I still carry on today. Or when I read and when I use words, I use them consciously. That they create energy.
Perception engineering.
It is a perception engineering exercise through and through. Whether you know it or you don't, it's still that reality. It's like someone saying no agneti because kangapuma panda bomba net.
Yeah.
It doesn't change that fact that net. So I loved that in my in the yamagam. Obviously there would be things that I would have questions and find a good sharp. Like for example, I remember I was having a conversation around our Ndwaso. And how is that to be approached as a Maya bear? And I think at the time I couldn't really get an answer because I don't think there was a system in place.
No, there wasn't.
For that. And if even that question still remains, even with the Islamic community, that what do you do with Uthwasa Baban? Because it's not a thing you can switch on and off depending on what you believe in. It's there. It's just there, So I think those values, the Africanism that they carry, they create such an environment where such concepts can be discussed to a point that tools can be provided at some point until there are systems in place. Even Nyingonzo, for an example, as Africanistic and value, like ZCCs, for an example. Like if you go there, I love ZCC, bro. Oh, I love it. Free of charge.
Yes.
Because you're naming it, or because
Buplandi, and I'm just naming it, but they do have a name for it.
Okay.
But if you go there, you'll see Buplandi. Yabo, and uzawuxelela ba abantu bakokwenu bathi awubuleli wena uyavimba khawuhambe kokwenu yenza umsebenzi. And so those, I like those value systems, and it's one of the things I like with the Hebraic community. But obviously then I wouldn't judge them by not having systems in place with regards to, say, for example, in the Endwaso.
Can I challenge you and myself?
Okay.
Let's choose a Sunday.
And I'll take it to ZCC.
Okay.
Yes, we're going. Yeah, I'd love going.
Okay.
No, because
let's do
I
it.
think when you'll be important because we're all more astute because you have the short course.
And
No, 6 months course, yeah,
But I wanted to ask, like, I'm aware. I am aware that usuka background is a tamangina.
Yeah.
From a kaya, right? So background yamangina. But indlela othetha ngayo about all these other belief systems, uyongena nakwintwaso zizinto as especially intwaso engathethwayo ncam pha ku-witnesses.
Sure.
Yinto enga-entertainwayo.
Sure.
How do you, I know you once told me the story of ufika kuqam ne?
Okay, yeah.
Endlini.
Yeah.
Akahambi uqam.
Bahlala phana enkuku,
I was telling my sister yesterday about that story. But hey, akufika uqam kulo lakhe. Uyayibona laa nto? So,
2 years back.
and you understood by anyway ithethe enye into.
Yeah.
How do you broach these subjects? How do you open up to your people abangamangqina guys, now kuqam sicela ukuphuma endlini.
Yeah.
Yenzani le way lo xama hambe. How do you do that?
I remember. Besoyika ukuphuma endlini ebusuku because because so look, I think ekhaya na mna ndiyandinceda is that I became a bookworm at a very young age. So
you became
a bookworm.
Oh, okay.
At a very young age. I used to read a lot. My sister got me into that. And also they read. There's a lot of literature. There's a lot of so I got used to that. And then in bandas ekhaya kusemangcineni but mnanlilo and ekhaya they appreciated that to a point. Some of Oputi that I'm really good friends with are elders. My first guitar, for an example, who is a senior today. And even when I they call him like Puti, I like he and so and abazali bami bahamba mos. So my dad has passed, my mom has passed. So essentially endlini ndim nobhuti and my older sister, my other sister has passed as well. So nangusisi ke ngoku olinqina kaYehova, but usisi utshatile uhlala emzini naye. So I'm going to call her sisi sizawumisa liqhandi ngoku apha endlini. Hey sisi bekufika nalo hlobo apha sakwazi nothile. And then usisi will be like yenza mntasekhaya yenzani. As long as you understand ba andizi kuba ndingafuni nenze andizi because nanikholelwa, so I don't want to come and dilute the energy. Yabo. And then we would appreciate that, but siqhube nobhuti kusetyenzwe.
And Mosi, when we are living as people, see we have many belief systems. And then we carry that through. Nenzala yethu sifuna ihambe ngalandlela. Not all the time is abanjalo. And then when we transition ke ngoku sivele ethongweni. Mna bendilinqina apha, mna bendiliyebhere apha. Now ndiyavela ndiyagodola, ndifuna lena, ndifuna lena, ndifuna lena.
You know what I like about that? Like if uzayithi zamzekela kumekhaya. Umama waligqirhakazi at some point. Before ayongena ecaweni. I think wangena Africa, and then from Africa wazongena eBaptist. Wemke eBaptist waze manqineni kuba kwase kwakhutshulwa lemipu. So I remember feeling traumatized. So so then wadibana namanqina but she understood, and I could still see fragments of that kuye. Like umzekelo funny intuition yakhe was weird. So my dad understood. I remember telling the time about funding we need to set up a temple here, an altar, and my dad was like, "Yo, you are old enough. You have a family. You have a wife. There's a house for 17. You can do that. It's fine." And then when he passed, so I took that as well. You know what? He wouldn't be angry at me for doing this here at home because we really needed an altar as a family.
17, it was still a family house.
Yes, yabo. But it made more sense by farm where we all go. And if so when he passed, and then it was just us, and obviously there were a lot of things going on. And it became now a prerequisite. Like wherever you go to a specialist, I say, "Hey Nina, altar kokweni."
Specialist.
So whenever you hear to bring up, the ones that go in, it altar kokweni. So it ibeke into zakudala sifuna uyenza kakade nomkhulu. So we ended up doing it. So I think I was able to communicate. I think it was better ngoba abazali sebehambile. But my liberal approach to spirituality and religion You're ending even abantu abangamanqindi abazitshomi zabazali ekhaya, they understand me. Yabo.
Having a grandfather or beligqirha, umama eligqirha, and then seeing her transition from one sect to the next, ukhona mos ngalo lonke eli xesha. How has that impacted your worldview in general, how you see things?
I think that's the thing, Endenze, nangumundu who is interested in religious issues generally. Because I've seen all of these things with Tatangas. So I think that's why when I started Bandia Pash, I was like, no, I remember when I was young, during a transition, apartheid, I think 94, uMfowethu. One of the things I thought was going to happen, maybe it was just me being a child and naive, I thought that, finally, we're going to have our own black man as Jesus, or something. I really thought that as a kid. I really thought that because it was something cool in Podaresh. Because remember, my brother was a freedom fighter. So my brother would always complain about about King James and his white Jesus. And no. So these are things I grew up steadily. Uputing apa is SACP. Ngapa there's uLasi ngapa who is PAC. Ngapa omnye ngapa is Black Consciousness Biko. So these are debates as every day. So as a kid then I grow obviously curious. No man, there's still this white Jesus. But how do you deal with this white Jesus? So that's when then I started Jilandela Omama Nabazali. Now I got glued to let me read things on Black theology. And then after that, okay, cool, let me read now these ones. Okay, cool, now let me read now these ones. And my mom used to say, as long as you got shipping, it's fine. It's okay. As long as you got shipping.
That's because now your pants was
So I think a lot for who understand just because these people are different doesn't mean everything about them is wrong.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, look, and say, hey, okay, let's say we don't want white Jesus.
Yes.
Let's say we don't want Jesus thing at all. And then now you have a light that stays just across the street, a stout. And then if it is sin, it's all a light. And then all of a sudden it's grand. So for me, work for the society. I don't care about your theology anymore. No, that theology. Hey, we have a criminal here who almost killed people. Maybe it would have been me. But today we since he was sharp. So you can't tell me nothing about what he believes in is fake. Yes. I see real results. So I think tolerance developer ngolo hlobo.
Do you think it's your curiosity that led you to radio?
Because I was going to say, he should have been a pastor.
Manditi, your curiosity and your openness, because you can be curious just so that you can bash things, but you can also be curious so that you're open to information and therefore open to experiencing the world. Do you think that's what somehow, that's what would have led you to finally saying, hey man, I want to share what I know and I want to know what other people know, and perhaps let me just get into radio?
No. I got into radio because of my brother. Umax ayengaba endlini collects music. So and then there's tons and tons of LPs, and that was during the era Motown records.
A lot of R&B.
Yeah. So and by radio.
Yeah.
He really wanted to be on radio, and so he would do his demos endlini. And I would watch him doing these demos, and then as in top 10, top 30, and then up in as in jingles going, number one. And then
that's so cool.
number one. So
I know him now.
Now you're mentioning this. Number one.
Next time I see him, I'm gonna say number one. He's gonna look at me like I'm crazy.
So Oprah really wanted to be on radio, and what fascinated me about radio was how those people about Tetangapa can make you feel a certain way all of a sudden. So I wanted to be that guy who's on the other side you don't see, but he's got the power to say something and just make your day.
Yeah. Now we got number one.
So that's why I wanted to be on radio. And then nah.
I'm just gonna step out quickly.
Okay, cool. So he ended up going Goyofunda because that was like partly how people would be recruited.
Yes.
Abasasaz bakudala. And then waphela ke ngoku.
Umsasazo ofundileyo.
Yeah.
Awuba nesakhono nje.
In fact, la experience yabo maphambi kwabantwana, I think they thought bangaba xa ungumntu okwazi maphambi kwabantwana uthethe uzokwazi sasazi.
It's different.
Yabo. That's why even you find abasazi bakudala bonke naba ngoko partco engotishara. So he ended up then being a teacher, but he ended up in exile. Wabaleka esikolweni nokutshona eUganda. So we are who really got me into a love of radio. And also I was quite a loner as a kid. Yes. So radio then was my guy.
Okay.
Okay. So I would listen to my Temptations tapes and all of those, and then I would just listen to radio after that.
Tell me about your first broadcast. I'm not talking about in a professional way, but the first time you picked up a microphone, whether to do a demo or sasas, your first broadcast, like now.
My first broadcast. My first broadcast, I didn't answer Rumin. I didn't answer Lin. Because I used to do demos. Yes. Shit, but I can't. But I know, but my first, it would be those tapes and because I would emulate Uput.
I heard that you had a show that you were doing through the window. I heard that you had a show that you were doing through the window. You put up your microphone, they can speak up and then you would do radio.
Max would have told you about that. Max would have told you about that. Yeah, man. Like it. And there was a time I would take a speaker, a pencil. Yes. And then I would, and then the sasas, this my entry, that the answer, dude, no, I forgot about that. Dude, I used to.
So yes, and
brah. And then I got to. I remember Ephondweni. There was a time I was was a mall.
Yes.
MetLife Mall, a king.
Okay.
I was still a student. I think I'm for the Stanford Business College.
They call it the mall now.
They call it the mall.
Or the mall.
The mall.
Yes.
Well. So I was doing I think I was doing Stanford Business College. So one of the campuses is a king. So mall, and I'll see this radio booth up. Yeah, announcements up a mall. Up. So one day I just decided to go to the office.
Yes.
Oh, it's up here.
Yes.
For free.
Yeah.
But announcements, but yeah, it's not that I'll start any day. I'll go prepare.
Yes.
Then I went some preparation.
Yeah.
I think that was my, like, if I would say professional show.
Yes.
Was a show I used to do. I can't remember.
We are PTs
mall. So then I was a mall. And then they would come and say,
okay.
Yeah. So then then from there...
This would be your second now broadcast.
This was my second
first broadcast. Speak up as Gwendlu.
Yeah. And then from there, my next broadcast then was Ephondweni FM.
Okay. Now, I don't want us to start there with Ephondweni FM. I don't want us to start there. He knows he has this passion for radio. I think he'll better narrate the story. And then utatu uyayibona ba lento ayenzi ayiya pho kuyakhona. And then he intervenes as umzali. Yes, tell us about your dad's intervention.
So, my dad is a truck driver for an air conditioning company. Now, at this moment, they had a contract to ufake air conditioning systems kwakhiwa imetla ilantsika iHemingway's Mall. So ndiyajoba ke ngoba yabo. So kakuvala isikolo, time ezifaka ejobhini. So funanga ubeka umuntu idle lapha kusetyenzwa. Fine. So silinde ilicense ke ngela xesha. Yabo andikachazi yonke le lapha endlini ba kukhona iyaziwa ke ngumama yabo ba khona iradio sizama uyenza yabo. Xolani makudini. Sesepurification le radio.
Yes.
So ndihambe ndophangela phayana isupervisor yam foreman phayana ke kwanda uJishu Daka nguNiko. Savana ke noNiko because ndithanda Formula 1 nayithanda Formula 1 so thamba ndiphumela endlini ndolala endlini yakhe ngexesha buka Formula 1 ndizothi kuNiko I'm not going to stay here ndimbalisele le as soon as we get the license I'm going to leave. So this one time yaphuma ku Daily Dispatch ba Ephondweni FM license granted. Ayibona uNiko le way I'm up ku scaffold ba phezulu jinga pha andikwazi uNiko pha Lucky you guys got the license. I'm like I quit now. Quit Nico some ba phezulu. And then ndihle kugcwele mos there's new contractors apha ezantsi hagane ngabona uNiko. So ndizothi kuNiko ngoku you're going to have to tell my dad. Yabo I quit. Yabo it's not going to be easy to tell this guy that I'm quitting. And Nico, no, it's fine. I'm gonna tell Richard. Hey, awuxelelwe ke ngitime nyanga uNiko. Ngizwe ithamba. Manje ndola ndiva ba uniye kumsebenzi. Ndithi otata I'm following my passion. Passion. Don't passion. Ndithi ndithanda wireless so ndifuna usasaza. Wena wabona into osasazayo apho kuyosasazwa apho kubani abantu basasazayo apho. No, I think that was the day that in fact I just want to live my life. And emotion. And emotion.
Oh, black sheep of the family.
And then I left. So I was estation Ephondweni FM. So building your flats as to So one of the flats is going to be a commune. The other one is going to be for operation things. So song is I moved to But you know what my dad did? Every Monday, my dad would come and pay 10 rands. Every Monday. Without fail. And he told me the reason was because the Daily Dispatch at that time was exactly 2 rands. So he'd come and bring me 10 rands and said, in Pepe Young. And as a station...
So he supported you.
He did in his way, in his own way.
Yes.
To get the news.
Yeah, because there was no Facebook. The only news you could get
was from the newspaper. And there's no... And internet, this is 2001. So we don't have internet this span. There's one internet cafe... because I started to Esplanade. And we had to have a partnership with that internet cafe for us to be able to use it. And then so access to information was, you have to go to the library. So my dad was like, okay, was the breakfast show up in Teng Pep. Koi will come in Teng Pep. I think what grand way to Kalawai. I think yona ndiyamenza okrana kukhala kwayo. Abathini yakhala nyani and ke ngoba athi nochomi zakhe ngosizumbasela uyintwana yakho because I was doing breakfast show. Intwana yakho. So I think you got then warmer into the idea. Man, yayenza lento yakho. Sathi kamandi wethu. As a result, one of the techniques I would use to make sure that angizobe ngithethe nonsense, I would just picture my dad ehleli up, and then I would refer to abaphulaphuli as mphulaphuli, and then just pretend like I'm talking to him.
Yes.
And in that way, I would know, but I don't tell nonsense. Then it
told
became
the line.
I would tell the line. Then it became part of my muscle memory.
I hear about Monty FM and how potent the station was. I think it came at the right time and it spoke to its core audience, and it was a hit. What was the talent? Who was the talent there?
Breakfast show, it was Luckeez, uMfowethu. 9 to 12, it was Lulu. 12 to 3, it was TH, the Black Ranger. He had a feature into Mihlola. Yo. In the afternoon, it was Gus Msauli. Brilliant broadcaster. I wonder where Gus is. Hey, Gus.
How many of them are still on
radio,
on the platform?
Most of us, they are industry spokespersons.
Okay.
Abanye, they've graduated from being industry spokespersons in the political space.
Okay.
But Ababe active right now, it was me, Lulu, and Metro FM's program manager, Sianda Figueroa.
Okay.
Sianda was our programs manager at the time. And who else is Criselda Zozi Lewis on SABC Babes Ndaba. Was
of talent.
Yeah, that's the talent in Kumblayo. Ukuselwa Ranje, she's communications spokesperson in the Premier's office.
Yes.
Who else? I was active on none. They're active in different industries.
Okay.
But it was quite a potent talent.
I hear that it was contested, the license by Link FM. I read something like that.
Look, I read Lawe
He knows a lot of things.
You know what I like about Sizwe Dlomoka Facebook is that as radio, we haven't had a dedicated radio critic
scribe
ever since King David Mashabela joined in Metro FM. Not just I, Good Morning Parliament. David Mashabela used to be a radio critic, a very balanced radio critic.
One of my favorite radio broadcasters.
Yeah, on I'm not sure.
King David.
King David.
Hey. It's like David. David. That's how he interacts with his audience. And
so he doesn't have a radio voice as well.
There's no such thing as a radio voice. That's the thing.
Fan.
No, bakhona kaloku abaya phula ekhaya ongenela
You're born a person, you're part of
then that's not at the mall.
That's not a radio voice. It's a persona.
It's a gimmick of sorts.
It's a persona.
I like that. That's not what he's about, really.
Yeah, but so David, he really used to be a radio critic, and I used to read his columns. And Sakumbu number was City Press or Sunday Times, somewhere there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna question So what I like then about Sizwe Dlomoka Facebook is that now there is someone who seems credible. Yes, as news you know, okay, sharp. It didn't really happen like that.
Yes.
So, for example, with the license contestation thing, personally, I wouldn't really know.
Okay.
Because remember, Link was there as a Christian radio station. And at that time, there was this need for communities to have their own community radio station, like a secular community radio station that is not niched as Link is, for an example.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't then assume I was not vested to get with such information, but it wouldn't be a contest, so to speak, because these are two different niches. Ours is a Christian radio station, it's a generic community radio station. And at that time,
KQ exists.
At that time,
Link FM exists. What's this? Kingfisher, PEF.
At that time, you needed to have African language speaking radio stations that speak the language, the dialect of those communities. So Mundi FM would then be such a brand. Link FM is in a audience yayo a niched direct. So, however, I wouldn't say what Sizo was saying wrong. I think it's for me to do my homework. With regards to that. In fact, was there contestation of any sorts between these two brands?
Mama, I want to ask that backwards when it comes to social media things. 10 minutes to the Sizodlomo on Facebook.
Yeah, there's a Sizodlomo.
Because there's a Sizodlomo on Facebook.
That created a group.
And then there's a Sizodlomo.
Yes.
There's a shortage.
These are two different entities.
There's a shortage of potatoes.
There is a. I could be wrong. There's a character in Lomo on Facebook.
Okay. I just wanted to understand that.
We're not sure if
because I keep hearing
I'm not sure.
On Facebook, and I'm like,
but his content is fair, it's balanced. As you would. Was correct when I call you it's not really like that. Radio. And I remember when he said the last there's an article he wrote. The question the guy Mundi FM, if ever wondered whatever happened to Mundi FM. So he says Mundi FM was my brainchild, which is not really but I get him, but it wasn't my brainchild. I joined people who were already moving.
Wasn't probably because you were part of the people who were meant to
recruit
the talent.
I think so. And I would appreciate it. I think so. But obviously, when they look at definitions of as a brainchild, it's like it was my idea. So
I love that word.
I love him and big up to him, man. Yeah. We need more. Look. In any sport that doesn't have critics, it becomes complacent.
Commentation is important.
That's why radio is as it is today. It's because there's no critical department that says, "Hey, we are watching you." Are you calling me sense of Are you calling me sense of
Let's try to find him.
And there are people there and they're warming up.
So
and they're ready, but feet.
And who invest time in informing themselves about the sport. So the sport itself, so it's become complacent.
Yes.
Especially in the advent of podcasts. I was listening to Unkululeko
on culture.
He was talking to Penwell. He had gone to Penwell. And he was making a very interesting business case about where podcasting as an industry could go as a rival to radio. And he said there would be, I might be misquoting, but he said radio, at the end of the day, radio is our is our redundant, I think it says. The radio is going to end up being redundant because of podcasting. And if you look at time spent listening on radio and look at the conveniency of podcasting being available online, the conveniency that comes with that, and that you can always go and watch. And so if you add up all of those hours, say you take you take a point with the podcast, you take Podcast and Chill, you take Penwell, you take Kuku, Osbu, you take all of that. That becomes an institution, pretty much like a radio station, if, you know. But I thought, you know what, you're making a very interesting business case, and it's a very serious business case. However, because of the structure that make up what we know as linear radio today, we'll be able to put on resources with radio to catch on on the lessons learned by podcasting being around now. Also, there are a lot of lessons for radio to learn on podcasting.
Also I think we are a developing nation as South Africa. There are people who can't access many things and data prices and stuff like that. And radio is easily available if you have a mobile phone. Nobody knows data, but you can still listen to radio. So I feel in between the two, this is our bambisana. It's only if radio will die if the people at helm are not learning any lessons from a podcast. But definitely the podcasting space is the future.
And look, who listens to any drive time show on Monday when Magic drops? At 3.
Not I.
Who listens to afternoon drive radio on Friday when Magic drops? Who? Now, if on Monday Magic drops, on Tuesday somebody else drops at 3, and essentially afternoon drive from linear radio is fucked. Yeah. But there are lessons to be learned.
Yes.
By radio from that. And if radio then is creative enough, they can cover that ground. Because podcasting is you can always go back after 6. Depending on how hot is your drive. If your drive is not as hot or as memorable, yo, my man, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And also the caliber of talent that you find on the radio. Lulu was complaining, city, hey, like, abasasas don't read these days.
I was actually about to go and ask you that question, Uguti. Just looking at today, right? How did you guys recruit for talent for Monte FM vis-a-vis what's happening today, where we've got people auditioning, having public votes, umzekelo. Do you know what I mean? How different was it? And what's the impact on radio and the quality of broadcasting of having, a 30-second audio and the public voting on that?
Lala. It's
a numbers game.
I have my own views with regards to that. I remember saying the other day, if this was the way during my come up, I would not have made it. But also, I think time. Okay, let me just say my piece, man.
Yeah.
Say your piece. Say your piece, yeah.
I pull him down.
Like it is, man.
Look, okay, Sharp, Ubani has got a huge following.
So many followers, yeah.
On Instagram, and we as a station would like to tap into that space. And then forgetting that radio in itself or broadcasting in itself is a very endangered sport. It's a very contact sport. You need to know your basics. You need to know what you're doing. Yeah. It's also an art to get people to pay attention to what you say. It's an art. Not everyone can do that. So we did see that too many radio stations we tried to get influencers and put them on the air, and we've seen what happens. Yes. We've seen what happens. Right? Right?
Disaster.
So now we are where stations try to also involve Mpulapuli in some way or form. So my fear then becomes, are you really going to get what you want? let's say you have a top 10, and then we all vote on the top 10. If you are doing your recruitment just by yourself with HR and, you're going to do those interviews, 3 people, 6 people, and then you choose one as the 6 of you on the panel. And when you do that, that exercise was rigorous. Debate, you find the best one. And when you put that person on the air, you're like, aha!
This is what?
That's why
the best of the 10.
Yes.
So then the trade-off then with the voting system would be that Abapulapuli, they are not necessarily going to go through that exercise as HR.
Because
So you
you've
might
just
not-
got that 30-second clip.
So you might not get...
And you've got money. You're popular.
Look, the 30-second clip is fine because you're going to put on a 30-second clip, then it's going to come to a panel of people who are going to buy chita up to the top 10 or the top 5 of the best of all of them. So essentially, you have done a vetting process to some degree. But again, my worry is the trade-off was abanayo into finding the one who will be decided by the voters. Because in this case, I can call my dad and say, yo, ngicela 10 rand fondini. Time in 10 rand, this is voting ngokwami win. Yabo? So it's a trade-off that I think industry at some point will have to sit and debate.
There's a recent case of similar to that where sisters got in competition, voted so many times for herself, did not become the overall winner, but became a winner of a prize money because it said if you vote so many times, you stand a chance to win so much money. So instead of winning the radio competition,
dude, but also remember, such exercises in broadcast they're called queue builders. In such exercises, they bring traffic to your station.
yes,
Because at the end of the day, what do you want? You want people to listen to your station. So, however creative ways you're going to do it, that recruitment exercise, but if you say, you know what, I'm going to do it up to this degree, and then from this point, I'll involve my listeners.
yes.
And then when my listeners feel like they're a part of this, I might get an increase into my loyalty percentage. If your loyalty percentage is 30%, you might get 35 for that quarter.
And also, they might warm up when that overall winner comes in because they would feel
we played a part. And also, you get an increase in your time spent listening. If your time spent listening was 4 or 5 hours or 4 hours a day, you'll find that or maybe sometimes it's a car giveaway, and you find your time spent listening would have increased. So these are some of the techniques that broadcast managers they would use as for business. Because at the end of the day, you must remember this is business.
A numbers game.
It's a numbers game. It's business. So if then you are not going to, as long as you're not going to compromise in terms of quality. So if it's out, let's go Tina Sands up until top 3 with Songa and then Snigabapulapu. We know, but we are fine with any of these 3. They meet all the requirements. They're sharp. But now let's involve them. So you are sharp to be concerned about the quality output of it. I think it's a trade-off, really.
Yeah. Ndiyahleka nje ngibuthethe ndiyacinga ndiyabazi baphulaphula bomhlobo wenene banjani.
Sure.
Yabo. And bangaba abantu mos uzawuthi udlala ingoma ethile efoni athi hayi man Lucky bengicinga fanele uzawudlala la ngoma bendicele kwayizona.
Sure.
Kutheni ngokulo mntana emke singekathethi naye thena engayithathanga umnxeba yabona laa nto bafuna ulungisa isixhosa bafuna ulungisa information oyinikezelayo and they literally own the station. They run it.
Yes.
Ngefowuni zabo, right? I don't know if Injala goes in radio stations is just because I've had an opportunity to be close enough to umhlobo to witness how uMphulaphuli actually engages with the station itself. And now I'm thinking, when you give the uMphulaphuli the opportunity to pick and choose who they want, how much of it ends up introduce a level of control and for lack of a better word, abuse from uMphulaphuli towards the entitlement. Yes.
Yeah. I think if you're able to achieve that, where your listeners feel entitled to your product or your institution, I think you've won half the battle. And that's loyalty extreme. Everyone wants loyalty.
Yeah.
So it's up to you then to manage it. It's like in football. That even works for you. If you have give me one station that has abaphulaphuli that are more famous than some of the presenters. Give me one.
Does it?
Okay. So
there's this one lady at 2000.
So if you are able, now I feel if you're able to get abaphulaphuli bakho to a point whereby they are entitled to your brand, they are vocal about it. Remember, abengobasasazi, so abazokwazi uzithetha izinto ngendlela wena bawula zithethwe ngayo. Yabo? If you can get them to that space, imagine if they didn't care.
Yeah, it's like a customer.
Well, that's the worst that could happen. That they don't care. You post something online, they don't care. So I understand Ngqo City, for lack of a better word. You could call it an entitlement or the abuse of the entitlement, and you want them to be entitled.
Look, you've played in different positions within the broadcast space. You've done management and being on air. Which is your favorite? And I think the question that will couple that, we breakfast show yakho Monty FM. Do you have that one feature, Tomba? Yeah, man. This is national.
This is a nine. A feature is the triple play every day. Dladle triple play. We play strictly local, unknown underground, Alapi area. 3 a day. I used to call it.
You've always had indoor for area.
Well,
but let you answer your question. We'll come back to India.
I would bring my Dladle triple play. Obviously, it wouldn't be. If I do a drive, it would be a Dladle double play.
Yes.
Which other feature I would bring? I had a relationship with Iwusu, so I would have my co-host. Yeah, so I would have a co-host, and then my third, we're a sports guy, co-host, and there's a producer, and then I would have another co-host. So I would take 5 students from their broadcast department, and every student would come to the show. They know that on Monday, it's my turn to go and co-host. Like, we know Ubani comes here on Mondays. Yes. And then on Tuesdays, who's Ubani? Okay. No. And the station, they selected that 5. I remember Umengo Mgwaju. Umengo was a Friday guy. He's in government now. I would really love to do something like that.
Yeah.
Where I have students who are part of the show, because it gives you access to fresh brains.
Oh, nice. Yes.
It gives you access to fresh conversations that happen among students. Gives you access to fresh lingo.
Yes.
Fresh language. It humbles you, because ababantu baseklasini, they get access to literal work. They're gonna bring that literal work to your conversations. And then he's going to say, no, man, Ubani wrote a book at 8. Can I get that book? Read. Was a student.
Yeah.
So I don't regard them as students, I regard them as scholars.
Yes.
These people are scholars. So they have access to trainers, Paeskela, and the literature and whatnot. So bringing them to the space, also it creates an environment where another student watches and say, you know what, actually, maybe I can do this. Maybe I'm called wrong.
I think once again,
it's not
for
like
me, it speaks to just the core of who you are. Lena ndiyayithanda area. Edladleni triple mixes, 3 local songs. And you want to have a co-presenter that's coming from esikolweni. Development of your people and the development of your community seems to be in the undertone of how you do what you do. And I don't know if Yindo Yasemonti FM mhlambe, because even Ululu had a similar approach to things.
Right.
She wasn't afraid to say,
right,
let's do this, man. Dr. Tabelele Moyeni.
Yeah.
She wasn't afraid to say, Jonga, it's Women's Month. You must be on air every week.
Sure.
Because we are blacker in that sense. So I don't know, was it a thing? Because sometimes we sit here, sends Pinky Sweno, Yakimba Jonga. If you make it to London, whatever.
Sure.
Sure. And then we do this. Was there an unsigned agreement between you guys that, listen, we are about making a success not only of ourselves, but also of those who don't have an easy way to open the doors?
It was a cultural thing. It was a cultural thing. Oh, okay, fine. It was a cultural thing. Guys, you have a huge team, like director, sound guy.
Let them know.
There's a sound guy who's an engineer. Like he's a scholar. Like he has. How many degrees does he have? There's a producer.
He has a PE
dude.
Degree. He's got a degree in PE. Got a degree in
Cape Town.
Yeah. Dude, man. So, but by the way, congratulations, guys. It's quite beautiful. Also, so it was. Let me just answer that. It was a cultural thing. Because I think that I think it was a cultural thing in Tanzania because we grew up, like for example, the music man, band, a garage band. Everything we know. Remember, when I grew up, there was no school that teaches radio broadcasting. When the first school that teaches radio broadcasting launched, we were on air, and that was BTFM and USU. So they were behind us. So we couldn't be trained. We trained ourselves because there was no institution offering such training. There was communication science, fine, okay, wait. There was no.
Okay, wait.
There was no, not that as full there was journalism.
Yeah.
There's journalism. USU. Okay, sharp.
Okay, wait.
Okay, because my relationship with news was that these are the guys who always bring bad news on screen. I don't want to be that guy who always come on the radio and bring bad news. Because you count the stories, every story, count the stories in the bulletin. It's just bad news.
A news reader, it should
be depressing. So I knew, but I don't want to be that guy that brings the bad news. So I don't want to be a journalist. I don't want to be a government spokesperson or a communicator, what. No, train me to be a radio broadcaster and give me a module that says, this is how microphone treatment, this for radio, time clocks, this is what the voice over, all of those things. I wanted that. It wasn't around. So we trained ourselves. Up until South Africa, we national radio. Something depressing happened the other day. Izolo. So baby is reading what Usizo Dlomo wrote about me. That whole thing and
yes.
And the baby, hey baby, dude, you've done so much. This thing's starting to read like an obituary. Maybe it's because of and I'm starting to get worried about you. But more than anything, this reads like an academic profile. But it's so sad that in your time, you couldn't be academic about this because there wasn't an institution offering academic work about this.
Yeah.
Even when it happened with the Soplagi roads, I think it was they only started 3 years ago to offer what they have virtually. Lockdown, because I think they fully licensed before.
Okay.
Because they do have such programs. So now, so programs is you have to attend full time. Or if you attend part time, still you have to span. So there's a trade-off, but you span this girl.
It doesn't make sense.
So it would be a real dilemma. Remember, not to school. But I refuse to believe, out of everything we have done, if I were to go to school, I have to go to course 1. S1.
Acknowledging your experience.
Because it's not my fault. It's the education industry's fault.
I don't think you would have to, though. Wouldn't they take into consideration all the years of experience?
They do, like the recognition of prior learning and. But now, I can now with roads because I can always do it now. Because now they got the license.
Okay.
So I think it's one of the things I'm going to do. They've got a beautiful program. And fortunately, I've done some short courses with them.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool.
So what's your take on a radio?
Mna?
Yes.
I was on radio. I forget I was on radio. I was on Bay FM. Hey.
Like a moss.
Man, I think that, radio encompasses so many things. It's made up of so many things. He made an example of soccer coach thinking that he's the one, and then he players as 10. For me, I felt in the end that disconnect later time, because at the end of the day, the team is made up of the coaches, of the players, and of the fans. Because remember how bad soccer felt for me who feels, but how it looked, Nina, how you experienced it without the fans at the stadium.
Yes.
Right? It was empty. And Fananam, as a performer, when I had to host Izindo for cameras, it didn't make sense because I draw energy from those that are watching. Yeah, understand? And at the same time, I draw energy from the team that carries me, and that is management. Because talent without the shoulders of management or of the team, it tends to wobble sometimes because things get overwhelming. Also, you need somebody who curates, because remember, the management are also responsible. Programs manager was where you were acting, right? You had to curate the radio. Ukuzikhali wireless funeka uyizobe ba kuzaba mandi xa kuqala ubani kwalandela ubani ubani xa isiziva kobani uconnecta nento ethile, you understand? So you the ebbs and the flows of how we experience the day are curated by yourself. So without that, I just felt a bit disconnected from it. I sort of, because I would speak to Lulu every now and again, I sort of get what he was trying to say, but I also felt that maybe it was a bit too harsh to completely dismiss the role of management and to not even mention Abapulapuli in how radio is created, because I think it's a 3-pillar situation.
Look, I'll start with the question. Was about which one I prefer to be on the air and one. Look, here's a challenge that most institutions make, and this is not just in radio. Everywhere, across the industry. The moment Kim becomes good at what he does, he gets promoted to what? To management. Now, this person is not a manager. Pitology is not a manager. He's a creative.
Yes.
Right? But the moment he becomes so good at what he does there, and then the sound department, cooler. Pitology across the network, please be the manager, be the business unit manager, yale unit. And now this is what you get output yakho. You get a depressed manager who misses his work. So I will always advise. I'm like, you know what? Instead of promoting Ulaki to be a manager, make Ulaki a specialist.
Yes.
Right? In that way, you have someone who is great at what he does and is happy at what he does to a point that he can start to re-engineer how this thing works and go and find new sciences of how to improve this thing.
And not recruit talent without his input.
Yes. So now that's why you're gonna go to the department because akafuni bayile qha ukuze i-growth has been defined as kunyuka kwi-organogram and get to management. So for me, honestly, as a creative, I really don't want to be a manager. If I were to be a manager, I'd rather be a manager of something that I created. And even there, delegate those admin duties to someone because I know I suck at administration. I suck at paperwork, right?
I was a bit worried, because I remember that first phone call. I'm in my own emotional space. Now we're ngapha wenze yakho. I'm like, what is going on? Life is over, you know.
I cried, guys.
When I listened to the memorial service post facto, because I spoke to you towards memorial service, and you're like, I'm not teta mnapa. Unless and eventually you agreed for whatever reason and you spoke. And I think also mainly to honor your friend and your colleague, you know what I'm saying? But what you said, I think I heard a friend who wanted, and sanctify. But I felt in you a friend who wanted to sanctify the memory of Ulu in its truth. Do you know what I mean? Not trying to decorate, do you understand? And hide certain parts of her, but to honor the fullness of her human experience. That being personal and that being professional. I think that's what I loved the most about it. Leave get the fact that it was in Xhosa all the way through. It was just beautiful to listen to. It was So it was for me, Nyani, I commend you for, in spite, because I was angry. I know my anger. You understand? I'm like, no. Not this one, not this time. There probably was a different time. I wanted Lulu to get so much more out of life. Do you know what I'm saying? No, maybe for just 1 month, God, grade of 2000,
English
boom,
media.
bang, boom.
English
Do you know what I mean?
media.
I wanted it for her so much, and I didn't realize how much I wanted it for her until I didn't realize how much I believed in that dream for her until Kotwaka Sekulu. So I was really angry at so many things as enzekileyo ebomini bakhe, right? And I do not think that had I been given a moment to eulogize Ululu, I would have left that anger emotion out. I feel that you would have felt it. Nobody, you would have felt it in my voice. Nobody, you would have felt it in my actual words. But you would have known that there is a wrath in there of a woman who wants justice for this girl.
You'll fall into that bitch.
Yeah, I would have fallen in now, in a manner of speaking. Do you know what I mean? But with you, there was just so much grace in how you eulogized Ululu, in how you forced us to look at the human being outside of everything else that people generically know from interviews, podcasts, and andoni. But you came in and you carried the energy of the person that was Ululu. And it was beautiful to experience in your speech. I don't.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. Yesterday I got a call from the family. So When I was like, yeah, bro.
Then we get who's Lonwabo.
Huh?
But then we get who's Lonwabo. There's that voice note
there's
that's
a
doing the
voice
rounds on
note.
TikTok
Oh,
and stuff.
And then we were
okay.
asking who's
Okay.
Lonwabo.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Look. No, Lona will lose cousin.
Yes.
So Lona was like, Luckeez, bro. The family really appreciate, and I realized it later that a lot of people really appreciated the fact that I said we did what we could do, and everyone did their piece in their own ways and form. I think at the end of the eulogy,
Freed people.
And it was one of the things I was not confident if I'm going to be able to live out. When I was so, and I knew that even within the family, there are people who say, "Yeah, brah, no verse, So I could feel that weight, and I started feeling like that weight and I could feel that energy in the room. That there's ingati, but I figure away like ingati. There's this weight that people are carrying, other than the fact that we lost someone we really love. And I quickly got it that no, man, people feel like they didn't do enough. They feel like they didn't do enough. They feel like that's better, man, about.
Yes.
And it came at the spur of the moment. It wasn't part of what I had prepared.
Okay.
It came in the spur of the moment. Yo, guys, let me just say this piece.
You've done everything.
Yeah, boy. And the family really appreciated that. Like, yo, like if there's Lula's Mazik,
oh no, I felt it as well.
So I think also when I was one of the things that isn't even when I'm seeing the one before everything was and thing as Tembi ubangaba because I could feel the political dust. I could feel it. And you don't want to be standing in front of people and there's 2 elephants in the room, there's 3 elephants in the room. Yabo? So I thank you for what you just said, that I was able to deliver and talk, with my sister, without and I think I was emotionally matured enough to be able to just talk the truth, be sharp.
It's a gift that you have, and it's a gift that's gonna sustain you. It's a beautiful gift. Calling you Ndikuve, how broken you were by the news. And then we shoot. And after we shot our first, we shot 1 episode. We're shooting 2 episodes that day. So after shooting, when I go online, you had something that you've prepared for Ululu.
Yeah.
And how it was. We listened to it after that. How does that? Do you know what he did? During COVID, first lockdown, that terrible lockdown, when we were lost as a country, we did not know what was happening, and we were approaching Easter, and people who have been attending church for so many years. I'm 40 years old, and I've been going to church every Sunday and every Easter. I'm there since I was a baby.
Oh, I remember the Easter broadcast, actually.
You remember that?
I remember it very well.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Why less? Abantu. What happened? Tell us.
That was cool. So this is what happens. Lockdown, no church, nothing. We've never seen a pandemic in our lives. So none of us in the building has ever prepared for something called a pandemic. We don't know.
Quarantine.
It's quarantines and it's Easter. My boss calls me. He's like, Lucky, any ideas? And then, do you think it's possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. Cool. Boardroom tomorrow. Meet. Then we go. There's a lot of us. Lucky, shoot. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I tell you that because I prepare.
No,
Yeah.
So okay, sharp. So tomorrow then once ideas, they'll brainstorm. So I'll feel Lucky, shoot. Otherwise, I'm like, okay, cool, fine. Let's get a church. Let's book a church. Sanitize it. Let's be one by one, and I'm going to record them there, and then I'll piece them together. Okay, cool, sharp, no problem. And then we go to the church. Hey, we go to the church. Aye, record, man. Record, unless. So I must record, engineer. We headphones, I'm not getting sound, but I can see it. So I'm like, I know, sharp. Fine, I'm done. Endlini hlale steps in ngifuna umamela ezweni bra xa ndimamela ezweni lothixo yonke la audio bendiyibona i-microphone ye-laptop record igumbi amfundisi ndimvela fair ngaqomba into engazoyenza kuyi-1 kufonela umistake ndimxelela uba I'm gonna need to bring abafundisi back. That is not gonna happen. So hey, I think of ideas but then no, man. There's microphones on every phone.
Yeah.
Every phone has a microphone. And if you cushion it enough, and now how a microphone works, besides gebanga noise gates like paya, the microphone is recording kumbi. Essentially. So if you come close, there is a bump. Ne?
Yes.
So
Aina noise gate a microphone.
Yeah. So
a phone noise gate.
So nalana if a microphone uyithathile wayicreatele igumbi elincinci uyifaka apha phakathi kwela gumbi ugqiba uthethe song apha, and that microphone will capture that room sound yakho. So naloo nto ne. So ngona no man ndithi ndicela bonke abefundisi bephayana mabandiphindele ezantshomelo zabo bonke, but now erumini yam umuntu mangena room yolala avale curtains akhuphe i-pillowcase i-continental azibeke zithi sala mpahla ihleli phakathi kwasitula iyeke net so recording a phone. Ne? I record. I get sent the very first one, same day. You get one. I'm like, whoo! Clean, quality. Now we are in town. Now we're gonna work. Ne? So I'm still thinking, okay, creatively, how like the ones and sharp. Figures on sense, opening and closings. Ne? So as bani dibanisa, ingqondo figure it no. Radio. What I'm doing here is radio. And there's ngonzo. Yes. I'm doing radio. And radio is theater of the mind. How do I create that theater? Because that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Ne? Like, that's the whole idea. People need to feel like they're there, and they need to feel like they've got the time, because they need to get time to pray for COVID. They need to feel that. So how do you do it? Like, dramatize it. I took cable noise. And cable noise. Zemasi clean just way as the audios abefundisi. Yes. So the cable noise they beka up pants. So that now izovakala ngathi upha.
Yeah.
Ngathi khona ngathi cable ngathi pha eholu. And then gave them a bit of reverb. So that's about pa. Umvuse pulpit.
Yes.
And then I thought, what else can I do? Let me bring the audience in. Took his sound effects, zemvusele lehlangana zapha espan, ezabantu abaphayana, no, put them up ngasemva. ezinye ndidibane nazo kodwa mna lokhohlela izapha.
What is up? Yeah.
How many days did you have to create this?
I think it took a weekend, I'm not sure.
A weekend?
I think so. But yathi phela ndimamele like icawe le yule.
I know it was.
Inji umthetho wayo. Then yahamba ungena thathumelela sathi mthumelela uMr. Sathi uphuze lathi wabuza yonke right? Athi right. Athi ngamamela athi mamele radioweni. Umphula phula le radio. Okay, shout nona yam. And when it played on the radio, ngala 10 sasa.
Yes.
By 11, there was already 2 emails. As tech amapolisa, tech no minister, no, the kopa, mhlobo wena wenze event, and thina sivalelwe. No, nenze kanjani le event. Vulani radio siyayiva nansi yenzeka ngoku kwabantu pha bazosulelana ngeCovid ababantu phayana. Mina wena minister. Mathile minister yo. And yathi phela la. Yathi phela.
But it sounded real.
It sounded because I really needed it to sound real. Because to me, after I think ndanceda kubuya ingqondo ethi like what you doing is radio. You are not doing about the phone, it was a radio.
Yes.
So create this theater. You are allowed. And I remember debating with myself the ethics and merits of it. And what I was like, no, this is radio.
Yes.
Let's do radio. This is the ultimate now of radio. We're going to do it, my friend. Carl, I remember I would have those even discussions with myself, the merits of ethics.
So that's the reason you had to be called Ukuphela kwayo.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because that iphele emoyeni wathi uTamzu wathi dlama kuzofuneka uzeke ndanga uzoyicacisa emoyeni uba kwenzeka ntoni because ziyangena imbalelwane emails ngaba bayakhala abantu bayafona abantu bekhalaza abantu banina nenza event bafona befundisa aba because izabicawo zivaliwe nina nenza phayana and futhi abefundisi balapha bazophinda babuye bazoshumela yabo and when that happened I was like whoo well done. But that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Then we Top 5
broadcasters.
All
time. Top 5 broadcasters.
Top 5 broadcasters all time. Of all time.
There's so much that we need to talk about, and we've been talking about radio. This should not be the first and the last time.
There needs to be another
he's the
session.
First guest, and he came bearing gifts. Definitely, he bought he's a friend of the podcast.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
You can toast to that, my friend.
Chomye Pondo.
Yeah. Good. I love it. I think top 5 broadcasters of all time. You
should have seen how he was.
Sammy T with the ultimate of radio, the top 40 on Metro FM.
Funny? Sammy T.
Okay.
And Mazunda, you to the top 5. Bob, my band, Bra Bob.
Oh, yes.
Bra Bob. Saba.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Saba.
Such a versatile broadcaster.
Yeah. So there's Sammy T.
Komyelo, who really created the theater of the mind.
Saba. There's Mark Gilman. Oh, Gilly. I love this breakfast.
Yeah.
We're gonna need to have a scholarship of some sort to be able to get another.
Listen, Duhleli apha senjba I am sending the vibes. I am connecting with him like you cannot not mention this lady. Yeah.
I complain about this a lot. I remember when Fresh left a Metro. Here's a call conversation. Hey, you know what's going to happen? And hey, I'm a and I called Lulu out, Notofi. I was with them. Called them out. I'm like, guys, every time kufuneka kureplacewe indoda on a prime radio show, amagama avelayo kuvela amagama amadoda. Where are the ladies who are good at this thing? And then we started throwing names. I remember, like they started throwing, like, give me names. And I remember even throughout, I was like, guys, I would love to do a radio show with the Brenda Ngule, for an example. I think it would be very idiotic, that show. It would be, whoo, Lord. And with someone who's not even in this space.
Yes.
But actors is actors that about the challenge was fair we could broadcast.
Yeah.
There's a space up. So
I think umuntu unsung in the female space nguLidu.
Lee, ne?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
I think she's quite unsung, and she does the thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I do believe that there needs to be a defined approach to finding and developing young female broadcasters. Right now, I watch the podcasts. I remember
in the country
I
right
remember,
now, who's a female?
I remember McG one time he was like, "It's terrible," and I was like, "Bro, it's terrible." And this is not to take away the initiatives, brilliant initiatives, but you have to get to the Spoils City. Is it beautiful or not? It's not. At some point, we need to find a way, man. We have beautiful broadcasters, Anele, Tando, beautiful broadcasters. Yabo? And what are we doing to get more of those?
Anele, yes.
There has to be a defined, intentional approach to get those. I know it's a small word, it's only 18 radio stations, SABC and Prime Media and Ezake. But now there's podcasting, people are doing their own thing. I'm happy about that. But so then you can get quality even on the podcasting space.
But even there with the podcasters, you realize that it's led a lot by men.
Don't you think also the fact that radio and broadcasting in general has become a popularity contest, that people who will be given preference to get the slots and they don't use it productively are mainly people who are raking in numbers on Instagram and other places. So you take influencers and you put them in the broadcast world and they fail.
Look, we said even in podcasting, it's mostly led by men.
Led by men, yeah.
Look, you can't fault men for that go 2023. Get the fuck out of here. You can't go 2023.
And honestly, I am not. But I'm just trying to, because I'm a chiller.
Sure.
Tizaba. Pondo.
Sure.
But I must confess that I'm a chiller through and through. I love what McG has done, and I really celebrate it. In small ways, I want to celebrate it. I want to own 2 bottles as Ahlala for keeps because I think he's making history. But I remember a conversation of theirs, been a live podcast with an audience, and the ladies podcast gang was there, and they spoke about the fact that the men bafumana more numbers and Meg said, but your topics are boring. You guys want to talk about who's washing the dishes. You want to talk about, such things. And guys are more broad. And from the ladies, they were like, but you guys want to talk about sex the whole time. And then we also talk about sex, but it depends on angle.
Dude, so I want Celeste.
I was about to say
Yes.
I want Celeste.
What did I say to you earlier today?
And
I said it.
And in 2023, guys, you own things now. You're empowered now, as women. And I get the stereotypes that come with women disempowerment and the history that comes with that. I get it. But now we are in a space now where you guys are liberated.
We can just get our own
start our own companies to do it. So I want Celeste to study her own thing. Own it, do it, and. Yeah? Who else is got a beautiful voice? There's tons.
Udineo currently has a breakfast show.
Dinel's doing great.
Yeah.
Tsigi's doing her own thing. There's scores of women. And those women will be able to now inspire a lot of other young girls.
I think I didn't read this article to prepare for this. It was quite long ago. I was researching on how to put together a female-run arts festival, featuring females through and through, and I wanted to find out why this obsession for female-oriented programs. Why am I having this in my mind? It can't just be an art festival. It must be about females. And one of the articles I bumped into was a paper that was written by somebody. I won't have references now.
Yes.
But what they're referring to is just the challenges that face women in being able to prosper in a career in the arts. Is that the domestic responsibility is largely and historically on the woman. So I could get married to Yakin and we're both creatives, right? But he has more freedom to go to rehearsals that are going to end at 12. So he gets to put more hours into his craft. I have the challenge of bearing the children, taking care of the children. Not that he doesn't. He's got that. But remember, when a baby is still young, the main nurturer and source of life and sustenance for the child is the mother. So there's like a 3-year gap where I can't fully dedicate myself to pushing the craft. Did you know what I mean? There's just some of the challenges that are out there that you realize that as a result of that, just that one thing, domestic responsibility, you find a lot of times the stories of women, the voices of women are shaped by men. You check ezinye films that are trying to tell women's stories are directed by men. So that means we're telling those stories from the perspective of a man. We're building character Bibles from the perspective of a man. So, and I'm not saying this is an excuse, but I'm saying it's something we need to look at and really try to create systems that allow for the creativity of women. Because there was a study there that says a lot of females that are artists, they end up, in order to find prosperity in their career, they end up becoming teachers rather than being on stage. Because teaching is a job that has time limitations. I can be done at a certain hour. I can be home. I can create home. By the time husband arrives, in the traditional sense, home is already set up. Because what kind of a life will we be able to create if I'm at a rehearsal and the director, these people are just not, energy. If now you're a director, we're going to be here until you get it right. And getting it right is 1 a.m. But for the men, if getting it right is 1 a.m., it's a simple phone call to say, oh, director, so listen, babe, we're still here. So imagine both of us are out of home until 1 a.m. So that domestic burden is heavy on the woman. And I think the time is still too young for us to expect that burden is just going to melt away. Yes, no. Because remember, you have to sacrifice certain things. For instance, I find it to be a gift that I don't have a child. Therefore, I don't have that responsibility, and I can invest time and move about and do this. But still, having made that decision and knowing that I've got that gift of not having a child, when my sister has a baby, guys, and I'm done, but did you get what I'm saying? So it's natural, that thing in women, to try and make sure that all are happy, all are satisfied, and sometimes that requires a level of sacrifice. And I think sometimes that's why in a space like the creative industry, it's difficult for them to push as hard as they can, because remember, your kids need to be at school by 8 o'clock. A breakfast show is what... So those are the minor challenges that I feel, or maybe major, that I feel we need to look at. Sociologically, this is who we are. And how do we then create systems, to build upon this and create a livelihood that still nurtures and celebrates the self-actualization of the woman, whether nomdana uchatile or not.
There is a system in place. And you have raised so many beautiful points. There is a system in place, but that system, is always used in religious contexts. AmaKristu azathi umKristu makathathe umKristu. Problem solved.
Sabatha nomsabathi.
Sabatha nomsabathi. Artist ne-artist.
Ucinge babe sodumo esithini? Uneso udoktor makashada uNesmajovane iphoyisa lishada iphoyisa badubulana imagine
yeah man look, as I said, bro, like for me, I would sit here and just immerse everything, and I believe that this is the beginning. It's not the ending, it's the first. And also I think when we have critical topics that we wanna, just indulge on. Ingabi indoba he comes here and we interview, like, but just to have an input on the things that we have.
That would be lovely.
I think we should consider that.
Since I look at first.
Yes.
We don't want to let go far first.
Yeah. I agree. With that said, man,
it's not easy to catch him from the first,
This was a jump. It's beautiful, and I feel that there's so much information that's here, and there's so much that we can still talk about. But then time is another factor right now because we need to go to other businesses. Till next time. So Awuzunqaba, boy. Can you give us that commitment?
No.
Give us that commitment.
Guys, whenever you want me, I'm always available.
Word is born, man. Word is born. Thank you very much. See you next time. Simgile.
Peace.
Word is born.